Welcome to the NBTLT podcast with your guides to this magical journey, Lon and Zumi.
Welcome back to the NBTLT podcast, the only podcast that doesn't suffer from premature ejaculation. Be sure to send us in your messages on Twitter at NBTLT podcast or at mail@nbtltpodcast.com. I'm Lon, and I'm here with my buddy Zumi. Finally, after 2 weeks of not being able to talk to him and his beautiful voice. How you doing, Zoom?
I'm all right.
That was sexy. I like that.
You like that?
You brought up the depth of your voice, you clear your throat.
I'm not all right. I'm fucking pissed.
Does it have anything to do with kids?
It has everything to do with kids.
Kids are like the best and worst thing to happen to me.
Dude, I just don't see how such a little person can just make you want to strangle them, you know?
Yeah. I mean...
But you don't do it, because...
Well, you try.
It's bad, but...
It's, I will say that, like, disciplining them is hard, like, especially when you have to talk to them, right? When you have to try to explain to such a tiny little person that doesn't understand everything, so you have to bring everything down to their level, make sure it's short and sweet so they don't lose interest. It's hard because, like, sometimes they'll totally understand what you're saying, and it'll just totally break them down, and they'll start crying, and, like, they'll know that you're disappointed and stuff, and those are those moments that take me completely out of my rage factor. It's like, they start doing that, you're like, God dang it, did you have to do that? Now I gotta make sure that you go to bed, you're not gonna cry yourself to sleep, and...
No. I mean, and then again, like, there's the days when you like, you have to give them a spanking or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you feel like shit afterward because you're like, dude, this is such a little, I'm supposed to be protecting this little person. And instead I'm taking out anger on them.
You're inflicting pain.
Yeah, and you just feel like shit, so.
Yeah, but anything that you and I are doing is like, how much... what would your parents be doing?
I know my mom would be slapping the shit out of me. At least I don't do that with my kids.
Yeah.
I pull out the belt, but it's like the way I do the belt doesn't really hurt. I can tell because they're just like laughing sometimes.
Oh.
But it's more of the hey, this is gonna happen and it's gonna get more severe if you continue. And they're usually pretty good about it, but no, my mom was like, open hand, straight at your face.
Oh yeah.
Or on your back. She liked to hit us in the back.
Yeah, my dad didn't really need to use belt. Like, he used the belt every now and then. But seriously, the hand, that's really all I needed. And I didn't get spanked very often. Like, I learned my lesson. Now, my sister, on the other hand, my sister just didn't seem to get the hint. I don't know what it was, I think she was a little bit more spoiled, so she thought that she could take it a little further, but I don't know. Yeah, my brothers and I, we were terrified of disappointing Dad.
Yeah,
kids are awesome.
On a brighter note... Jesus Christ. Some fucking way to start this podcast, huh?
Yeah, it's okay. It's better than doing it at the end.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you, I got stranded again.
Again?
Yeah, again. Remember I that one time I did the walk of shame because I left my my key inside my car?
Yeah.
So this time we had a game at Carlsbad. And I'm in the high school parking lot, and I went, in order to turn the Nissan cars, you have to like push the brake pedal and then turn the button or click the button.
Yeah.
Right? So I click the button and it just goes and I'm like,
aww,
motherfucker. So
here we go.
Yeah. So and then it was drizzling. At least it wasn't like pouring on me, right? It was just a slight drizzle, so I'm like, oh shit, maybe the battery. So I'm going, it's just not going. There's nobody there. Like, so I call my brother, or actually I called my dad, and I'm like, hey, I might need you guys to pick me up and give me a jump. And he's like, well, can you call your brother? Because I'm in Mexico. I'm like, fuck.
Oh,
I'm like, all right, call my brother. Of course, it takes him like 40 minutes to get there. It should be only like a 15-minute drive, and it takes him about an hour.
but it's your brother.
Yeah. So it gets me the jump. The car starts, and I put it in reverse, and I'm noticing that as soon as I tap the brake, just like very lightly, the car just like stops abruptly. So I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And I'm like, hold on, I'm gonna drive it around the parking lot to see. And I'm driving and tapping on the brake, and the car just fucking does a dead stop. And I'm like, I don't like this. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. I don't want to turn the car off, because then if it's the battery, then. So I'm starting to look on my phone, like causes and all that shit. And one of the things that I saw was either your transmission is going out.
Oh God.
And then the other one is the brake booster.
Yeah.
Is not working, right? So I'm like, fuck. I'm like, you know what? Like, well, it's running. And I'm like, I'm just gonna toy with it for a while. So I'm like putting it in reverse, putting it in drive, putting it in reverse, and then all of a sudden it just unlocks. So I just felt like the brakes were just locked. It unlocked a little bit, and I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna drive it and see where it takes me, right? So I get out of the high school, and I hang a left, and it's an uphill street, just to because I was gonna take the back way. I'm like, there's no way I'm taking this to the freeway, so I'm just gonna take the back way. And I'm going on this fucking uphill, dude, and I'm accelerating like crazy. I can't go above 25 miles per hour. I'm just like,
shit.
Fuck
that sounds like tranny.
me. And the car is just accelerating at one point, like it's just revving and it's not going anywhere. And I'm like, fuck. So I pull into this little cul-de-sac and parked in front of this house. And I'm like, dude, the car is not moving. The car is not moving. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna put in park. I'm gonna try my thing again. And this time, like every time I shift to drive,
Yeah.
like, you usually just let the car go and it'll just start going on itself.
Yeah.
It's not doing it.
Did you have low transmission fluid?
Well, that was one thing, right? Like later on, I found out that I was low on my transmission fluid, but so anyways, I turned into drive and I'm accelerating and the car's not even moving. It's going all the way to like 3,000, and it was just like, I'm fucking done. I'm like, I need to find a tow truck. So of course we didn't have AAA. We had something else, but my brother canceled that service like a couple months ago. So now I'm stranded. I don't know anybody that has AAA that can do me a solid. So I'm trying to find a tow truck, and most of the guys that are answering the phone, they want to charge me like over $200.
Of course.
To get me from Carlsbad to Encinitas, which is, like I said, a 15-minute drive maybe.
Yeah.
It's like it's a couple miles. It's not a lot. So I found a guy that's like right around the corner, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's 250." I'm like, I'm gonna try somebody else. So finally, we find somebody on Craigslist that's gonna charge me $100, but he's like 90 minutes away.
Oh God.
And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, whatever. I'll send you the location. Here it is. Just come by, right?
Yeah.
And so meantime, my brother and I are just sitting there, and he has a Suburban, and he's just waiting for me. And we're just talking. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna look online again and see and I see a video that says a quick fix if the car doesn't start, and on the brake pedal itself, there's the brake switch is there,
Yeah.
and they just say like take that thing off and put it back on, and it'll work. So I'm doing that, and it sort of releases the brake pedal a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's not doing anything. It's still not shifting, and I'm like, okay, so that was dumb. That's not it. It's probably gonna be the booster because I don't think it's the transmission. And I'm like, oh, I'm stuck. And of course, I gotta pee like a motherfucker.
You always have to pee when there's situations like this.
So I'm like, no, I don't want to knock in this door and say like, hey, I'm stranded here. You know, can I use your restroom?
So they slam the door on your face and say get a real job, junkie.
No, so my brother's like, well, I got some. I think I got some Gatorade bottles. I'm like, you fucking asshole.
Did he say it with a smile on his face?
No, he knew he shouldn't be mocking me at that point. But so yeah, he didn't have a Gatorade bottle. He had a like a large drink bottle. So I'm like peeing on this fucking large Pepsi drink or whatever. And of course it gets warm, and you're just like, fuck. You know, could I do like a little walk of shame to like throw the pee away? So at this point it's like it's around 8:30, and the guy shows up, and he's like, so what's up with the car? And I'm like, well, it's not running. The brake pedal feels like it's stuck, and I won't even let me move. And he's like, okay, well, you have a key, bro? And I'm like, yeah, here, but I don't think you're going to be able to move it, though. Of course, this motherfucker turns it on and puts it in gear, and it drives. I'm like, fuck. So he puts it up, right? And we go home. He unloads it, and I'm like, well, let's see if it does it again. He turns it on the first try. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not the battery.
It's not the battery.
He's like, he puts it in reverse, and he's like, oh, it just felt like it unlocked. And he just reversed it and does like this perfect parking job, you know? I'm like, motherfucker. So he's like, yeah, I think it's gonna be your handbrake. I think it might be the.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
The cord. He's like, yeah, don't use your handbrake and don't run it. Definitely don't drive it on the freeway because it's dangerous. And I'm like, motherfucker, how much is that? And it's like a $400 job or something like that. And so I'm like, all right. Next day, I'm like, I had my brother take me to work, and then I'm like, hey, I'm bailing out early. I told my boss I'm gonna go buy some parts and see if I can fix my car. If not, you're not gonna have me here tomorrow because I'm gonna work on this thing. And you know, I started thinking like, well, I'm gonna try the brake switch. Like it sounded like it's out there, right? Because the guy's explaining like, well, if you use the brake switch, one of the symptoms is your brake pedal will get hard and it won't go all the way in. And if you try to turn it on, it won't turn it on. It won't turn on or whatever. I was like, but just replace the brake switch and it'll just release. And I'm like, it's really cheap. It's like $36. And I'm like, fuck it. I'll try that. And then I'm like, and I'm going to check my transmission fluid as well.
Mm-hmm.
I checked it and it was low. And I'm like, all right, so transmission fluid, brake switch, that's all I'm doing. If it's the brake booster, then you know that goes up to like $100 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it apparently on Nissan's the pain in the butt to like get to that point.
Of course. And let me ask you something. Like when you're looking up cars, like when you're thinking about buying a car, like when I look for cars, I can never find like those really hidden things like about the certain type of car that I'm getting that are like common problems. Like I'll ask for common problems. I'll look at all these things. I'll Google search it, you know, and try to find all the common problems for a vehicle. And then it's not until I have a problem with the vehicle that I'm looking up stuff and it'll say, "Oh yeah, it's a common problem." It's like,
yeah.
Well, fuck.
Well, there's this web page. I think it's called Car Complaints, and you can
I might
put
write that down.
any model and any year, and it'll give you like a little bell curve on like the most common trends
Yeah.
of the car. So it'll be like 2008 Nissan or whatever, and it'll say it'll give you like how many people had like, or what percentage of people had like transmission issues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was on Nissans was the transmission. And I'm just like, I'm panicking a little bit, right?
You're like, oh shit.
But anyways, I ended up buying that fucking brake switch. This is a small little thing. You just like I said, you just unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah.
And yeah, the brake pedal released, and I'm like, yes.
One down.
Yeah. And then I checked the transmission fluid, and it was low. I, got that filled up, and the car started running okay. So I was just like a little panicking, and then it even started to like I didn't jerk anymore.
Yeah.
Like Nissans have a belt system, so they shouldn't be like any shifting.
Yeah.
To
there
it, right?
There shouldn't be too much jerk to it when it shifts gears.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, maybe this is it, and yeah, it's been running okay ever since. So, but dude, it fucked up. And then the next day, so I have all this stress of this fucking car, right? And then the next day, I find out I didn't get the job that I applied for. I'm like, fuck.
It's like Mother Nature went, you know what? Fuck you. For these 2 particular days, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, car problems and computer problems are probably the things that piss me off the most in this world.
Yeah.
Like with my computer, it never happens unless I need to have it for something. Like I need my computer for school, or I need it to, do this, or something like that. And then with my car, it's never when I'm on vacation. But yeah, like with my truck, I call it a truck, and everybody else makes fun of me for it. I have a Ford Explorer, but I call it a truck just because it's that's how I view it. Well, it's a '94 Ford Exploder. I got used to that. It's a '94 Explorer, and but it's the Eddie Bauer edition,
Mm-hmm.
So it's got like the nice interior and everything, and I like the boxy look of the older Explorers, like with the metal frame and everything, or the metal body rather. And with that, like I tell people all the time, it's like, dude, it's not a Ford Exploder, as long as you take care of it, it's a good vehicle. Yes, shit goes out because it's old, but it's easy stuff to replace. And I told one guy at work like how many miles I have on my truck, and he's like, there's no way. He goes, I've never heard of an Explorer having that many miles on it, because I have like almost 220. And I guess that's not a common thing, but it's like, dude, just change your oil every 3,000 miles, 3,000 to 5,000 miles, you're fine.
Yeah.
Just check all your shit, change your brake pads, check your transmission fluid. But it's always the shit, like with your car. Let me ask you, when you drove to your destination that day, there was nothing wrong with the vehicle, was there?
Nothing wrong.
Felt like normal, right?
Perfectly
then you're gone for a few hours, get
Yep.
back in the car, and it's like you're sitting in the car going, is this my car? Because this thing sucks right now. Yeah, I did have problems with that one Honda Accord that I got from you.
Yeah, that gave me a couple problems. So.
Oh, that fucking car. I ended up driving my dad's old Caprice to work. That big ass boat. Well, I didn't drive it all the way to work because that was an hour and a half commute. I drove it to the park and ride, and got a ride from one of the other guys at work. But yeah, that was after the Prius. Don't make fun of me.
No, I'm actually I've been looking at a Prius, to be honest.
I will say, be careful, because some years really, really suck. There's a lot of mechanical problems with them. The earlier ones I've heard are actually pretty good. Like, I still see those ones driving around.
Yeah.
like the bubble look, not like the one I had, like where it's just like a big ass roller skate. The older ones, like that just kind of have like the bubble, like trying to think of the other Toyota. Well, anyway, yeah. But I've heard those ones are good, not the 2000s.
I was looking at like the 2004, and
Yeah.
I guess you can do like an alteration to him, like on the
Mm-hmm.
battery cell, and it'll it'll extend the battery life for more than whatever the 5 years that they normally
Yeah.
give him, and it will still give you like the 40-45 miles per gallon, and it'll give you a little bit more juice, like more power.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of doing that mod. It's supposed to be an easy mod too, and it's legal.
Well, there's a ton of them for the Prius, especially like the 2000s, not the 2010s. I don't think they closed a lot of loops during the 2010s. But I'm sure that nobody wants to listen to all this stuff. But I will say that the Prius did serve me well when I had it, but it was only because I had a long commute.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, filling up once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be.
And filling up a 10-gallon tank,
Yeah,
that was badass.
Yeah,
We
it
did
does
the
help.
trip from California up to Washington and back several times in that thing, and we'd fill up like twice.
Nice. And then the thing is, like, now they're actually affordable, right? Like now you can have $6,000 and you can get yourself a Prius and own it.
Yeah, well,
You don't have
because
to,
there's so many hybrids out there that
and now the car can actually pay for itself, and not none of this bullshit where it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm getting 45 miles a gallon, I'm saving $300 on gas or whatever, but it's all going to the car payment. It's like,
Yeah.
so you're not really saving.
yeah,
You're better off with your 8-cylinder that's giving you 12 miles for the gallon.
pretty much.
So
Yeah, we do have one of those at work. It's one of our road cars. We have the same year that I had, and that thing is tore up because it's been used a lot. And that thing has I'm pretty sure that one has over 200,000 miles, and that's for a company, So
yeah.
it's impressive. I mean, it does go for a while, but so yeah, dude, I gotta tell you, I think I told you that I watched The Ritual on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of hype going on about this movie.
So
On the
it is a
internet.
movie.
Yes, it is a movie.
Okay, I thought it was
And
a series. That's why I'd never clicked on it. I was just like,
Well,
fuck
I was
that.
hoping that it was going to be a series because I saw the trailers for it, and I was like, oh, that might be a cool idea. Like have like an ongoing thing. But no, it's a movie, and I was actually looking forward to it. I'm like, okay, this might be good because it's all about like Norse mythology and stuff, and there's these English guys that take a hike up in the I think it's the Swedish hills or whatever. There's like this forest that's right next to where they're hiking, and of course they go into the forest to try to take a shortcut, right?
Were they all white?
Yes,
Of
they're
course.
all these white English dudes.
Of course, they have to be white, right?
And now I will say the premise from the beginning of the movie is great, like really, really good writing for the beginning of that movie, and I would suggest watching it just for that to see how well they did. And they kind of use that premise throughout the movie with all of these friends. And that part would have been great if they hadn't stolen every single shitty horror movie about the woods ever made. And I have to say, like, the first scary moment that they're supposed to have, it could have been awesome, except that they, like I said, they borrow from all of these other genres, and it really kind of pisses you off if like you've watched any of these movies, because some of them were good, some of them were bad, but they stole all of them, So, and then of course they show the monster, like full on, like you see everything, and then it just takes away from it, I think. So, but yeah, I was kind of pissed about it. I watched it. I had to watch it alone, because Christelle doesn't like that type of stuff. And it got to the point where I was just kind of laughing, and, I'm like, okay, it's past the scary part. Now it's just like what are you guys actually trying to do? Like, what's the purpose here? So, that was my first time in a while that Netflix has disappointed me.
Well, I mean, they have a bunch of movies like that, though.
They do have a bunch of movies like that. It's just when they flagship shit,
Yeah,
like they did with this movie.
I saw a movie recently, Netflix original, and it was actually really really good. It's with Jared Leto or Leto, however you want to say
Leto.
it. Yeah. It's called The Outsider.
I've seen it on Netflix. I have not watched it.
Dude, you should check it out. It's pretty solid. I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it a lot. It does have some parts where you're just like,
Yeah.
don't know if you really needed that, but for the most part, it's a really really good movie.
Well, they do have a lot of stuff like that though. Like it's fairly decent and holds up on its own type of stuff.
Yeah. This one was definitely falls under that category. I liked it. I would watch it again.
I did try to watch that Wormwood show about LSD and like how the government was using it on civilians and their own people and stuff.
Oh, for the interrogations and all that shit.
Yeah, that was really good, but it's just too hard to watch. It's like I like detective stories, and Christelle would probably watch it if she wasn't around me because she likes that stuff a lot, like the First 48 and Forensic Files and all that. And it plays out just like that, except with real actors, But I just can't do it. It's interesting. It's really well written. It's just not my thing. I have to sleep at night, so
Yeah. I get it.
yeah. But yeah, there's been some good stuff on Netflix. I'm still waiting on. I don't know if you saw they're doing a remake of Lost in Space.
No, I didn't.
And I'm looking forward to that one because that one, the visual, like the cinematography and like even some of the computer graphics that they're using, they're really well done as far as the trailers are going. The only thing that I would have a complaint with is that Dr. Smith is a woman.
Huh.
And Penny, you remember Penny, the younger daughter?
Yeah.
She's black for some reason, but the parents are white.
Huh.
So, but I mean, they can play it out if they're doing like a reboot. It doesn't make me that upset if they're doing it this way. Like, say they're doing a reboot and they're not going to stay completely true to the original series or that shitty movie that came out in the 90s. If they're going to do that and say like, oh, Penny was adopted, and then Dr. Smith is just a woman now. Fine, whatever. You do your own thing. If it's good, it's good, right? But I'm afraid that they're going to play it off like Penny's their real daughter. And not a big deal. Dr. Smith is, a chick. It's like, and pretend that you don't notice. It's, come on.
Yeah. They're going full-blown Ghostbusters on us.
Yeah. Well, that was like, you saw that movie, A Wrinkle in Time, that was based off of Madeleine L'Engle's
I haven't seen
novel.
it.
No, I mean, you probably haven't seen it, but you've seen it. It's like Oprah's in it and Chris Pine. You see how badly that...
Yeah.
Oh, God. And I was pissed at first when I saw...
Everybody that watched that movie, that told me that watched that movie, they were just like, yeah, Oprah can't act.
Yeah, well, she can't. It's like, I loved the movie The Color Purple.
It's a good movie.
But Oprah's character sucked.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of the movie. It's like, why do you have to do this? Just stay out of the... If you want to produce, great, but just stay the fuck out of the movie. But yeah, there's a lot of good movies coming out now, and they're doing really well. The one I have to watch is The Ritual, or not The Ritual, I'm sorry, Titan.
Yeah, I saw that, Titan.
I gotta watch that. It kind of looks like one of those sci-fi movies, not sci-fi as in genre, sci-fi the channel. Like kind of like a B-movie look, but it's still something you want to watch, right?
Yeah.
The old school sci-fi channel. where they used to come up with some, really good original movies.
Fighting dinosaurs with laser guns and shit.
Dude, that's fucking great, man. I used to stay up late for that shit. I miss old school sci-fi.
This is a sci-fi channel, dude.
It was so. They used to play Lawnmower Man every weekend.
Oh man. Oh, what else? What else do you have going on, Lonnie? Been a long 2 weeks. So.
It has. Taking care of the house, fixing stuff up the way we want it. Today we ripped out the last of a few bushes that were in the backyard that were just, kind of ugly, and because we're gonna redo the whole thing, we're basically tilling up the whole yard and regrading everything so that the water would flow away from the house, because there's a couple spots that kind of pool.
Yeah.
So we're doing that, and I know I sound like a total dad and middle America type guy, but that's okay. But no, it's like, I wanted to say this a few podcasts ago, but, I will say owning a house isn't more difficult than renting. It's just different. It's just that you have to, take care of your shit, So, I don't know. It's just one of those things. You just can't be lazy with owning a house.
Yeah.
I guess.
I guess the only thing that I would say good about owning is that if I want to change something, then I don't have to ask for permission, or I don't have to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I get it, and it's I rented for a long time, and it was always shitty. Like when you'd have a bad landlord, that you have to like call them and be like, "Hey, man, I need you to come out here and do this."
Yeah.
Either that or I'm going to do it, and then they either get pissed at you for doing it on your own, or they don't know why you want to take money off of the rent because you did it yourself.
Yeah. Like my recording room, which I still don't have, and that's why you hear my kids screaming and crying, or you hear my wife yelling at him to shut up and go to sleep.
The thing I'm
sorry about that, people.
Dude, it happens.
Trust me, if you guys are irritated, I'm like 10 times more irritated.
You should see Zumi's face right now. If you didn't know that Mexicans could get red. But
I'm
no,
half
like
Japanese though, so that's
when you're a man, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but when you're a man,
and I'm talking about the dude here. Sometimes there's a man, and I'm getting off track. No, like when you're a guy and you're married and you have kids, you have to expect that there's some things that you're going to be disappointed with. Like you're going to be told that you're going to have something like a recording room. You're going to be told that, oh, you can go and do this, you can go and do that. And you can have those things, right? Totally. Like, if you have a good partner, a good wife, you can have those things. But there's always stipulations. Yeah.
And it's not always bad stipulations. They're not always even spoken. But it's like with your recording room. It's like, well, other things need to happen. You'll have your recording room, but other things are going to have to happen first. Well, and then 3 years down the line, you're like,
I'm still waiting. Like, I'm still waiting on that recording room.
Yeah.
No, this happened on the last place that I was renting. Remember, I was supposed to have a room for myself, and I used it once, and then my kids invaded that room, and it became their room. Yeah. And then in the other room, I'm like, okay, I'll just move to the other room. The other room became their toy room.
Dude.
So I'm like, when the fuck am I gonna have my recording room? The sad part is, I've been recording in the kitchen for the past 44 episodes that we've had.
45.
We're in episode 45. Okay, and I'm still recording in the fucking kitchen.
That's where the magic happens, Zumi.
Well, I know. Me and this table.
My grandfather once told me that as a man, sometimes you just got to take what you've earned.
Mm.
I don't know, man. That's like, and like, it sounds great on its face, right? It's like, oh yeah, take what you earn, what you've earned, what you're owed, right? In reality, that's a ballsy move.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, we're watching Breaking Bad again.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm forcing Christelle to watch it with me again, and I gotta tell you, I am. It's easier for me to watch the whole Skylar and Ted thing now that I know what's going on, like I know what's gonna happen, than it was the first time I watched it. Because that shit pissed me off the first time I went through Breaking Bad.
Well, I mean, if you, I mean, we remember we were talking about the dynamic that the Addams family
Yeah.
have. If you look at Walter, he's just a complete fucking beta male.
Oh, yeah.
And
completely.
so
and he tries. That's the sad part. He tries to be an alpha, and it's just not him.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, no. That's why your wife's cheated on you. And but on the other note, you know, you also can't feel completely. You can't take Skylar's side completely because
no,
it's a bitch move to do as well. Like,
well, this is something that I've noticed as Christelle and I are discussing this during these episodes. It's like, you know, on the second watching together, we're kind of going through it and going, you know, I kind of understand what she's doing here. Like Skylar is very intelligent in the show. Like, she figures all this shit out. She's not stupid. You know, she's not just some dumb housewife that, you know, just like, oh, whatever, you know, he goes and does his thing.
Yeah.
No, she knows what the fuck is going on. And I think she knew, like, you know, really early that there was, like, she may not have known it was meth, but I think she knew, like, you know, pretty early that something was going on with drugs. But even if I can feel compassion for Skylar and I can have some understanding as to what her actions are, I still can't justify the continuance of the affair. Because, I mean, she first sleeps with Ted, right? She does it to get back at Walt for kind of coming home.
Yeah.
And kind of forcing his way back into his own home, even though it's legal and all that. Because he was putting Skylar in a really bad position where she looked like the bad guy because she couldn't tell anybody. And I understand that. So I understand, you know, her thinking is, I'm going to go sleep with Ted because fuck you, right?
Well, I mean, just to put a hole in it, like, on a woman's mind, it's never about getting back at somebody else. It's to fulfill a need.
Yes.
Right? So at that point...
so it's flawed. I get it.
At that point, I think I took it more as in, like, oh, she went in there because, like the need that wasn't being met was security, and the other one was trust. And
they do make points of that when she's at his home, and she's looking at the heated tiles in the bathroom, and the robe she's wearing, and all, you know, like all these nice things that Ted has, you know, and he has a secure job. He can give her a job. You know, he has kids that he's taking care of just like her, you know. There is one question about this, though, and this is something that's been bugging me for a while. There is reference made in the show about Skylar having some type of relationship with Ted. It never specifies whether that relationship that was prior, like years ago, I guess it was a long time ago when she first was working at Beneke, that she did have some type of relationship with Ted that would be considered possibly adulterous because she was married to Walter. My question is Walter Jr. Ted's?
Oh, I don't know.
Because, and I've asked Christelle about this, and she doesn't think so, but it's just because of the way that Walt Jr. looks. Like, because his features look much more like Ted's than they do Walter's. And the fact that, okay, like in a television show, you would represent that type of child having some type of attribute that would signify, in a sense, that he is the result of something unorthodox or from an adulterous relationship, such as him having cerebral palsy. as like a reminder of her misdeeds in the past. And now I don't think that Walter, like, if this is true, I don't think Walter would know anything about it. Or even ask the question, right?
Right.
Because he never thought that she would have an affair with Ted in the first place. He just didn't like the way she dressed going to work.
Right.
So it's just a question I have. Do you think it's a possibility that Walter Jr. is actually not Walt's, and it's Ted's?
I mean, it's like you put a whole fucking new can of worms in the.
I don't know. The great thing about Breaking Bad is that there's so many different ways you can come up with like fan theories. It's just like Game of Thrones. Like you can come up with so many like different roads to go down. You know, like, oh, do we play with this scenario? You know, is this a possibility? The one guy I feel bad for, I don't even feel bad for Jesse in that show. Like, even though he gets fucked over a lot, gets the shit kicked out of him, he gets threatened to be killed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Gets treated like shit by Walt for no reason at all. The person that I feel the worst for is Hank. Because Hank has a shit hand the whole show. And then he ends up, you know, well, can I spoil this? Spoiler alert. He ends up getting killed. For somebody else's mistakes.
Yeah.
It's just messed up.
Execution style, too.
Mm-hmm. And he knows it's coming.
Yep.
Well, he is a DEA agent. You know, he knows these guys.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never, like, considered that possibility, though, now that you mention it.
Well, I just ask it because of the references that they make during the show about a previous relationship with Ted. Like, they're hinted at. They're not like, they don't just come out and say it. But they're hinted at between the conversations between Skylar and Marie, her sister. Like, because Marie knows something about Ted that Walt and Hank and nobody else knows. That apparently they had talked about, like her and Skylar. So that, and the only reason I would think that may have happened, like even just the relationship, is because they say something about it. Why would they say anything about it if it didn't mean anything?
Right.
It could just be like, why couldn't they have just gone and said, you know, well, Skylar, you're pregnant, you know, like you're almost getting ready to deliver, why would you go back to work? They could have ended it there. And that would have been a reasonable excuse for her to go back to work, you know, say, you know, like, Walt is pissing me off, you know, and I shouldn't feel this way, so maybe I should just get out of the house.
Right.
Nope, instead they talk about this hint relationship that happened with Ted. So just saying, food for thought.
I'm still not watching it.
So,
Not
did you see who your new quarterback is?
No. Who's my new quarterback?
Kirk Cousins.
Are we talking about the Vikings?
Yeah.
Oh,
they traded for Kirk Cousins.
I consider myself a free agent again.
Are you seriously going to do this again?
Maybe, I don't know.
Or are you just going along with the I was to have any test run?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
You're going to end up with the Browns, aren't you?
Oh my god. No. Yeah, I haven't signed my contract yet to see if I'm going to root for the Vikings again this year. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, you guys lost Bridgewater. He's going to the Jets. And here's the thing that I am enjoying about this offseason of football is the apparent downfall of the Seahawks organization. Have you seen this shit?
No.
They're losing everybody. Like, everybody.
So the restructuring?
Yeah, they kind of have to. They miss the playoffs, for one, which for a lot of franchises you wouldn't think is a bad thing, right? Like, if you were the Browns and your team went 9-8 or 9-7, whatever. Yeah, 9-7. Browns organization would think that's awesome, right? But with the Seahawks, it's different because they haven't missed the playoffs in like, I think 6 years. And all of this kind of happened out of nowhere. Like last year, the year before this last season, they looked like they were on the decline, right? But they still made it to the playoffs. They still made it to the wild card round. This year, they didn't even make the playoffs. And now they have fired their offensive line coach, their defensive coordinator, their offensive coordinator, and pretty much Pete Carroll is the only one that's left. They really only have 2 superstars left on that team, which is Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin. The rest of them are like these middle of the road to kind of good type guys, and then just a bunch of shit. And I can tell you right now, Seahawks fans up here are really sad. But because they know, like a lot of the Seahawks fans that have been Seahawks fans for a while, they're looking at this going like, oh my God, please don't go back to like 90s Seahawks football, you know? Because, you know, that's like going back to Browns football.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's hilarious because I hate the Seahawks, but, you know, and I'm sure they're all waiting for my team's demise. Just coming soon, people. Don't worry.
Is Brady still playing?
Yeah.
Is he gonna play for another year?
Probably 2 or 3.
Damn.
Yeah, he's only 41.
Dude, 41 in football is...
Hey, if Floyd Mayweather can beat the shit out of Conor McGregor at 40 years old, you know.
Well, that's true.
Which is a nice segue into...
He got a license.
He applied for a license,
Oh.
which I think is a huge mistake.
Well, I think the mistake is if he says I'm doing MMA and I'm challenging Conor McGregor. I think that's
the worst idea. Now, like Joe Rogan had said on his podcast, probably the best idea for him is to fight CM Punk, which I think is a good idea. You know, they're around the same age. They have about the same skill level, like at least for just fighting. Not saying like MMA or boxing, but just fighting. They have a similar skill set or a similar level at their skill sets, right? Like, you know, Floyd knows how to box, knows how to punch, and knows how to defend himself standing up, whereas CM Punk has about 4 or 5 years worth of MMA training, and he's old and doesn't really move that well, and he doesn't kick well. So that would be a good fight. I still think somebody like CM Punk would win, but at least it would be a good fight, right? Stepping in the octagon as Floyd Mayweather against Conor McGregor is a mistake. Because that actually is a potential of death.
Yeah, that would not be pretty, I don't think.
Yeah.
But
I've had some guys at work say like, oh, you know, he's not going to die in the octagon. It's like, okay, I don't know how to explain it to him. Like, there's a huge difference between boxing and MMA.
Yeah.
You know, and the potential things that can happen in the octagon, it's really dangerous for someone who has zero experience with that world just walking in with one of the best. That would be like me, Lonnie, stepping in the ring with prime George Foreman. Just because I have a couple of months of training does not mean I'm going to do well.
Yeah. That'd be funny.
Oh, that'd be deadly.
Have
you ever seen that guy's fights?
I would throw in the towel for you before he lands the first punch, Lonnie.
Before I take my first step on the canvas.
Yeah.
Like, oh, nope. Mm-mm.
It'd be like that scene from a Scary Movie, remember?
Yeah.
He's like, fuck this.
Yep.
It just walks away.
Yeah, it's fucking scary. Yeah, he's George Foreman's one of those guys that impresses the hell out of me, going back and watching like how calm he is in all of his fights. Even the one with Muhammad Ali, or the first fight with Muhammad Ali. You know, like just how he just kind of comes at you. You can hit him. You can, you know, throw your hardest haymaker at him. And he just keeps walking, just trucking along right at you. and he's slow as hell. Like, but if he connects,
So, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, got the Canelo fight.
yes, you do. Didn't he get in trouble?
No, he didn't. He didn't get in trouble. They just found they said he tested positive for like not a drug, but
Performance enhancing supplement.
no, it's like a hormone it's considered that they found in a steroid, but it's very, very common in the meat in Mexico.
Oh, yeah, he'll probably get off.
Like it's such minute that it doesn't make you can throw off the bat that he's not doing drugs. Like, like it's if I get tested for if I get that test, I'll probably test positive for it too.
Yeah.
Just because I eat meat in Mexico, or the meat of Mexico.
Okay, well, I just saw a headline and I was like, oh man, no. I don't know anything about it, so I have no frame of reference here, Donnie.
What I do like about it is that, everybody's. Well, it's like I said, everybody's saying like, well, it was Galapagos took that fight, like they stole it from him, and I'm like,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's like he's like go back and watch the replay, and watch it without that bias that like, oh, they stole the fight or whatever, and
it's just because it's Canelo.
Yeah, and like I said, the percentages don't lie, and the count that they have is he threw better percentages than Triple G, and he threw harder punches. And like I said, you have two type of judges, right? Those that judge by hits and those that judge by quality of hits, and that's why they have three. So it's not.
Yeah.
And so you're not biased.
The thing. It's like the visual test doesn't really work that well in boxing anymore, just because of how finely tuned the rules are.
Yeah.
As far as connects and punches and all that, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people think that almost every single Floyd Mayweather fight was rigged. No. Like, I think that some of them may have. Like the one against Pacquiao, even though his shoulder was fucked.
Yeah.
I still think that Pacquiao had more on points, but, that's beside the point. Like, most of Floyd Mayweather's fights, like, if you go back and watch the breakdowns, it's pretty obvious. It's just that he's so fucking fast. And his defense is so good. It's like, if you slow it down, you're like, oh, okay, there it is.
Yeah, it's like most of the punches that he was thrown at, he was blocking. It's just like there's no damage. You can't count that as a point.
Yep.
But like I said, sometimes I won't say most people. I will say a lot of people, though. They just go by how many punches somebody throws. Even if they don't, but if you're throwing like a million punches and they're all going to my arm, that doesn't make that doesn't mean you're winning the fight.
Yeah,
you can throw 100 punches, and if I just connect one good one, that can be enough.
Well, and this is something I've told people before, is that my fascination with with any combat sport, but mainly with boxing and mixed martial arts doesn't matter who you are and what your skill level is compared to the opponent. All it takes is one.
Yep.
And you see it a lot more in mixed martial arts, just because of the scenario. There's all different sorts of styles happening in one fight, and there could be a guy like that Gustafsson kid in MMA, like really tall white dude, right? Like, and he's not that great at, all of these different styles of mixed martial arts. But what he is good at is groundwork and hard punches. Mm-hmm. And if he can get those in on you, you're done.
Yep.
But like, he'll go up against a guy who's favored by like 100 points. And all it takes is that one thing, that's all he's trained for. It's like, those are like those guys that go into sumo wrestling, and they figured out, all I need to do is get this guy out of the ring. That's all you need to do. if you can figure out how to do that without letting the guy hurt you or push you out of the ring, you win. It's really that simple. And this is it's all along the same lines as that Moneyball stuff.
Yeah.
It's like just use the rules to your advantage. You know?
Speaking of sumo wrestlers, have you ever seen these documentaries on the life of a sumo wrestler?
I've seen one, but it was when I was in high school. It was a long time ago.
Dude, it is fucking brutal.
Yes.
Holy shit.
I never knew that they trained that much.
Well, not only that, it's
and the
just
food.
So, for those who don't know, like, you can look this documentary and it's on YouTube. It's like a 35-minute documentary.
Yeah.
But when a kid is around between 5 and 8 years old, you have to decide whether you want sumo wrestling to be a career.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is you're training since you're 5 or 8 until, you hit like 18, 20 before you start actually competing and making money.
Yeah.
But there's always that chance that, and it's a big fucking chance that you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is now you have this big ass fucking body, you have no education, and you may or may not have family support.
Yeah. And this is why in Japan, sumo wrestlers are held in such high regard.
Dude.
Like if they walk into a place, like say they just walk into a casino or a grocery store or something like that, I mean, you stop and you give them room and you let them go first. And I mean, it's a big deal because those dudes had to go through a lot.
Yeah, but
it's basically like a Navy SEAL here.
Yeah, but it's kind of like golf too, though. Like when we watch golf, you see like the top 10, the top 20, but people don't realize that behind all those 20 top golfers, there's hundreds and thousands of other golfers that like some golfers are fighting for like the spot like number 100.
Yeah.
Right, and they fluctuate between 100, high 90s.
Yeah, that's like free blowjob status.
Yeah, it's like, those are like people that are making like, I don't know, they're still professionals. They're making a living off of it, right? But they're not making a lot of money. They're like thousandaires.
Yeah.
60 grand a year maybe. But sumo wrestlers, there's that chance they're never going to make that money.
And
because
it's a big chance.
Because they're just not good. And if they started at 8, they don't realize that they're not gonna make it until like they're like 18 or 20 years old. Dude, no education. They can't really go back. They're kind of like forced to work.
You can be a bouncer.
Yeah, I guess, but it is fucked up, dude. Like I had like a whole different level of respect than when I saw that documentary.
Well, they had, Tim Ferriss, the guy that wrote the 4-Hour Work Week and 4-Hour Body and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He actually tried to figure out a way to utilize the rules of sumo wrestling to his advantage. So, because, I mean, he's not a big guy. He's like 5'10", like 160, 170 pounds, right? And he wanted to try it out. He's like, I just want to go to like the amateur level and see if I can do it. Like see if I can figure out a way to win without having to utilize what everybody else is doing.
Right.
Which is, gain the weight, get a bigger body, become a very stout force. Instead, I'm going to just use what I have and see if I can do it. Well, he figured out like there was a couple of moves he could do in order to get one of these guys outside the ring using their own power, right? So instead of me doing anything, I'm just going to do this little thing with my body that kind of fakes the guy out, and he pushes himself out, basically. Well, he did this. He got banished from certain parts of Okinawa because he was doing this and winning. But he's like, I'm not trying to do it to embarrass them. They can't do it because they're too big. Like
Right.
there are certain things that they just can't do because they're just way too big. He goes, but because I'm a small guy, I can go in there, just do a couple of things, and they fall right outside the ring. And he's like, I'm not trying to do it to embarrass him. I'm just trying to show that, you know, you can do certain things until they change the rules, you know?
Mm.
And but it's the same way with any sport, right? I mean, it happens in soccer all the time, you know? It happens in football all the time, you know? But no, it's interesting. I have a lot of respect for sumo wrestlers. I have a lot of respect for MMA fighters. And I basically have a huge respect for any type of professional athlete. Because it's something that people usually don't realize is how good that professional athlete really is. Even like the low-level guys.
Yeah.
If they're on the team, they are way better than anybody you know.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
why I hate that debate, like, you know, with who would win, the Cleveland Browns or UCLA. It's like, the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Any day, every day.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, well, before I go into this, I just wanted to make like a small parenthesis here because we were talking about NFL, but did you see that like the first male cheerleaders made it to?
Oh, yeah, for the LA Rams.
Oh my god, I was just like, man, this is not the way to come back after
No.
this whole fucking, you know, Weinstein bullshit, all of this like sexual harassment accusations. This is not the way for men to come back. To
Well,
say,
I also
to say
think
that
that
we're
it-
not pieces of shit, right?
Yeah, I think it hurts our image, too.
Dude, it's like, what's next? Now they're gonna have professional pole dancing for men.
Well, okay, here's the thing with cheerleading for men. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for them to do competitive cheerleading in college or in high school. I don't. I think that's fine. You want to do that, and like, you know, let's say it's just like, you know, it's the off season for gymnastics, so I'm gonna go do cheerleading to stay in shape and stuff like that, and, you know, keep my muscle tone and all that. Whatever excuse there is for college and high school, I don't give a shit if you want to be a male cheerleader. When you go to a professional level, I don't think there's any place for male cheerleaders.
Well,
That's
see,
just my opinion.
but this is the thing, Lonnie. Like, this is what's gonna happen. I think. Flight attendants.
Yep, same thing.
The same thing is gonna happen. Okay, so women are gonna use the word cheerleading as offensive.
Yes,
That's the next thing that's gonna happen.
it'll be
Oh,
cheer
I'm-
squad
I'm-
member.
I'm not a cheerleader. I'm a cheer squad, or I'm a professional. I don't fucking know.
They'll come up with some ridiculous term.
Professional motivational entertainer. I don't know.
You know, that might actually be a really good study to embark on, is how many jobs were more typically like, you know, like female jobs, right? Like, you say like a nurse. Used to be almost completely female, right?
Yeah.
And then males started entering that field.
Yeah.
How many times did this happen, and at the same time, or at least soon after, males started entering that typically female profession, did the outcry of sexual harassment or sexism start to arise from that workplace?
Yeah. I'd be down.
Because I would just say that, you know, like, you see all these things happen, like you say flight attendant.
Yeah.
You can't say stewardess.
You can't say stewardess anymore. And I'm like, dude, I fucking call them stewardess all the fucking time. Like, since when did that become derogatory?
Yeah, and it's just, it would be interesting to see, like, how many times it's happened where women feel like they're taking our jobs and we're feeling less empowered with our own jobs. But it's okay for women to enter the workforce in a typically male profession and have nothing happen. Notice how the titles never change in those positions that are most typically male.
Yeah.
But the titles always change for the ones where they were typically female, and males start entering that profession.
Yep.
Like,
I
you
agree.
don't even necessarily say nurse anymore, if you really think about it. It's, you know, yes, you can go with like registered nurse and everything, or now it's more of God, I forget the term they use, like technicians, and you know, there's all these different terms when it used to just be nurse.
Yeah.
And they would be the, you know, the one that administered you know, like painkillers, and it was just nurse. Now there's just a bunch of terms for it, you know, for all these different things that they do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, but it just seems like it's the case.
Dude, I don't think you are. I actually agree with it. And when I saw that, I was just like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like,
You know,
it's just, you know, I don't have anything against cheerleading. Like I said, like they do for like they have male cheerleaders in high school, college, but you know, like in the NFL, for example, it's always been like there's certain things that you expect to see.
yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you saw the female? What's their equivalent of the XFL or NFL? Sorry.
Oh, the you mean like the powder puff and all that stuff?
Yeah. Like, when was the last time you saw like a whole bunch of just male cheerleaders in there? You don't.
I don't.
You don't. It's just like, dude.
I don't. It's one of those things that's. I think that there should be things that should be left untampered with.
Yeah.
And it's not just because it's how I feel about it. It's because of how it's perceived. Guaranteed that when this happens, like, you know, when they start having male cheerleaders for the Los Angeles Rams, how often do you really see the cheerleaders during an NFL game?
You don't. That's what
They
I'm saying.
They might show it before they go to break at the 2-minute warning. You might. But that's it. And if you decide to look at the sideline during a game, you might see them. But seriously, how often are you actually seeing the cheerleaders during an NFL game? You fucking don't.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So, but when this happens, how often do you think you're going to see it?
No, now you're going to see it all the fucking time.
Well, yeah, they'll pan that fucking camera around and say, oh, good for these guys, you know, going out there and doing a job that was typically female.
But like I said, it's not going to last long. Because then the next thing is going to be like, oh, he shoved his thumb up my pussy when we were doing that one hold or whatever.
And he'll go, that's my job.
This is like, that's where I'm supposed to be holding you from.
It's the easiest spot to hold you.
And then they're going to be like, then they're going to be forced to say like, well, I'm a gay man.
Yeah, they'll be forced to pull a Kevin Spacey.
I
got
don't
caught
know.
fucking little boys, so but I'm gay, so it's cool.
Yeah, let me just say I saw that and I was just like, I was not impressed. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is not the way, people. But yeah, so that happened, and you know, which leads me to my other point that I had here on my set list, and that is that I'm sick and tired of this fucking progressive thinking bullshit. You know,
I could go all day with that.
I'm sick and tired of it, Lonnie. Like I'm sick and tired of people trying to shove me things, or you're supposed to be this way, and if you're not, then you're a fucking Nazi. And I'm just like, really, dude? You're the fucking Nazi because you're imposing your fucking beliefs on me. You know,
That's the most frustrating
down my
thing.
throat and all this shit.
It's
like
the hypocrisy.
The most recent one that I've seen, and it's because it's all over the fucking news. Like I can't even open my MSN page without seeing this shit, and it's this whole thing in Parkland.
Yeah,
I'm just like, dude.
You mean David Camerhog?
Yeah, it's just like, just give it a fucking rest. Like, yes, it's horrible what happened. Yes, we understand something should be done. Yes, I don't need to see teenagers trying to change laws.
Well, this is
like, I don't need to see that.
That's the most ridiculous thing to me. It's like they're making it so that if I don't agree with a child, You can call him whatever you want. I don't care if he's 17 years old. I don't care if he's 18 years old. You could have told me he was 20 years old. That is a child. That kid's still going to school. Why in God's name am I going to listen to somebody that hasn't figured out how to tie his own shoes properly without looking like a dumbass, or wear the proper colored clothing, or and the most disgusting thing about it is he's scripted. It is so brutally obvious when you watch him, and I can't watch him anymore. Just because the kid has sold his soul, and it's disgusting to me. It's like, of course he has. They promised him fame. They promised that he's going to be in front of a camera, that his voice was going to be heard. You promised that to a teenager. Tell me, what teenager is going to say no to that?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. South Park made an episode about bullying. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
If guys, if you haven't seen
They're
this
one of
episode,
their best episodes.
Look at this episode. It explains like fairly well how I feel about this, and just to make like a small recap, there's a lot of bullying going on, and then Stan decides to take charge. Right, he decides to be the poster boy for anti-bullying, and every time somebody's talking about bullying, he's always like making these like snarky remarks like, do you know how many kids like get bullied? Like, and he gives like all these stats and all this shit, and he's making this documentary, and Kyle gets really, really pissed off at him. And he's like, dude, I don't understand why. It's like, I'm trying to do like this whole anti-bullying thing, this whole video to like bring awareness and all this shit. And Kyle just goes like, then make it free. Yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's like, if you really believe about this whole thing and you really want to give up your message about anti-bullying and all that stuff, then make it free. Make it free so that it's accessible to everybody, and don't make any money off of this. Make it free. And then Stan just goes like, I can't make it free. Like, like, and that's his reaction. Like, how dare you tell me to make this, to like, give this information out for free? And that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
It's just like these kids that you see them like about like doing all these rallies and stuff and doing like the 3 or whatever minutes of silence and they're just holding there and teary eye and shit. They're not doing it because they're there because they believe in a cause.
No.
Fuck no. They're doing it because the cameras are in their face. They know they're gonna get famous. They know something. They're gonna get something out of it that is not. And it's not the right reasons to do that stuff. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know how much more I can add to that because that's how I feel.
I'm just tired of seeing it. I'm fucking tired, dude.
I'm tired of being portrayed as a Nazi just because I disagree with anything. And I just had this kid who was coming around, and he was part of the Cub Scouts, right? Mm-hmm. And he was selling those little $5 coupon tickets, like you get like, a couple dollars off here, a 10% discount at like Big Five, but it's all in like one little $5 card. And I think they're cool. I'm like, yeah, sure. I told the kid, you know what? I don't have cash on me. I actually have to go to the grocery store, and what I'll do is I'll go grab a $5 bill there. And since you're going to be walking around here, I'll just drive by and I'll give it to your mom or you, because he's walking around with his mom. And the kid's like 15 or 16, but of course his mom's just gonna make sure he doesn't get murdered, right? Well, I go and get the $5 after I'm grocery shopping, and I see his mom walking around, and then I see him going door to door. So I stop in the truck, and I roll down the window and I say, hey, I'll get one of those tickets. And she's like, oh, that's really nice that you actually do what you said you were going to do. She's like, you don't know how many people today have said that, oh, I'll get cash later and I'll get back to you, or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I get it. And I said, I think it's cool that he's going around and he's trying to raise money, go on a camping trip, or I think it was some type of like camporee or whatever that he had to raise money for. I was like, yeah, I used to do something really similar to that. I was in Royal Rangers, it's just like Cub Scouts, except it's, through a church. And she's like, oh, that's neat. And I was like, yeah, I actually made the equivalent. It's not the same thing, but I made the equivalent to Eagle Scout when I was in Royal Rangers, and I got a letter from my congressman and everything, and she's like, "Oh, I hope it was a good congressman." I'm like, What do you mean? She's like, "Well, if I got invited to the White House, I'm certainly not going." Like, as if I'm just supposed, like she said it like I'm supposed to just agree with her, right? Like saying something like, "Oh, a Nazi invited me over. Oh, I'm certainly not going to go." It's like, you would hope that people would just agree with you on that. Well, that's how she acted with our current administration. I said, "Well, what do you mean?" I go, "I like Trump. I'm a Trump supporter." And she goes, "Really?" And I'm like, oh my God.
Here we go.
And as she said that to me, her son walks over and he's like, "Oh, thank you." And he goes, "Mom, I like Trump." And she goes, "No, you don't." And I'm just like sitting there in the car with my window down. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just start? And he's like, "Yeah, he's a good president. What's wrong with him?" And I'm like, "Well, I gotta go." And as I'm leaving, like they're having an argument in the middle of the street. I'm like, oh shit, I just tore a family apart. Well, she had mentioned before that she's a single mom, and I'm not saying that automatically makes you a liberal, but it makes it a little bit more common. It's
yeah.
You're more likely to be on some type of government assistance if you're a single mom. And it's not of any fault of your own. I'm just saying, with those things comes a more liberal attitude.
Yeah.
It's just disgusts me that people it's so different from when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, if I was a Republican and someone else was a Democrat, like you would just make jokes about each other, right? You're like, "Oh, did you see what Bill Clinton did? What a fucking weirdo, Can't believe that asshole lied to Congress, And then everybody would get along. You'd still go and have a beer after work, right? Yeah. Now it's like, if I say I'm a Trump supporter, for some reason, I'm like injecting heroin into the soft spot of a preemie baby's head or something. What the fuck? It's just craziness to me.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Well, it's just so messed up that we have to have these identity politics now. It's like, can't we just agree that we love America, we want to see America succeed, and we don't want to rip down every little piece of the Constitution we can because of identity politics?
Yeah. I mean, all I'm saying is one of the things that I really like about the U.S. and this is coming from somebody who lives in Mexico, right? Yeah. And under a different constitution. And if you see all of the fucking amendments that they've done to the Mexican Constitution, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's you have oh shit, I can't remember how many articles there is. I think it's 32.
Holy shit.
Hold on. Let me Google this really, really quick because I just want to make a point, right?
Yeah. I'm waiting, listening to you type.
Sorry.
Well, because
oh, but by the way, did you know that Mexico is actually not named Mexico? It's United States, or the Republic of the United States of Mexico.
Copycats. I'm just kidding, dude. Don't murder me.
Now, holy shit! There's a lot more articles. Well, this is how fucking bad it is. Now there are. So the original Constitution was in where are you?
Well, I know that
1921, and there's been I guess they don't call them amendments, they call them decrees. Right?
Okay.
The last one was done in just last year, 15 September.
What was the one before that?
February 2017.
Holy shit! How many do you guys do?
That's what I'm saying. Like, and the reason why it changed is because, I mean, Mexico is a socialist country, right? So it leans more towards the left. So all parties are, you can say, leftist parties.
Yeah.
But and the most conservative is still to the left.
Yeah.
a couple degrees to the left. But I guess what I'm going at is that now there's 136 articles.
Holy shit! Yeah, see, because
How many does the United States have?
The United States has a total of 27.
27.
Now we have various changes that happen to them that you could like to each amendment, but the thing about the constitutional amendments is they're not necessarily amending. They're just adding to. Really.
Right, but they're into the original 27, right?
Yes. The thing, like the last one was changed, was the 27th Amendment. I'm pretty sure it was done in the 1700s, originally, but the last change to the Constitution came in 1992. And this was the 27th Amendment delays laws affecting congressional salary from taking effect until after the next election of representatives. Tell me if that's like one of those amendments that you're like, oh my God, that's a huge change. That's really not.
No.
Those are the types of changes that we make to our Constitution. You're like, oh, you're not going to get it. It's like that one thing. It's like it happened a couple of times, and we're just going to set it in stone now into the Constitution. You can't get paid until this happens. Like, okay. But those are the types of changes we make. The original amendments, they just had Joe Biden say that as Republicans, we are grossly misinterpreting the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Seriously? It's really simple and black and white. And we even have, like I said to Aaron 2 weeks ago, it's like, the Second Amendment has commentaries from the authors on what they meant the Second Amendment to be. It's like, how are we misinterpreting this? But you can see, like, with like you say, in a socialist country, it means something different.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it's the problem with this. That's why Mexico's all over the place. Every fucking year it seems like they're making a new decree or like I said, in the States would be like an amendment. You're adding or you're taking away. Like Peña Nieto just changed one where about oil. I think this was last year. So essentially, what the original one said was that the Mexican oil is for Mexicans, right?
Yeah. For
Mexico only, and i.e., that's why you have the monopoly. And now with Peña Nieto, like I said, in 10 days, this guy changed the whole fucking constitution. You'll be amazed on like what corruption can do. But and so now you have what are these Americans? There's a couple of American companies here now. It's not Arco, Mobile. Mobile. I think Mobile's down here now and stuff, to where before it was just gonna be one, and it's a monopoly, but it was supposed to be like under the control of Mexico. And the reason why they made it a monopoly is that so that these fucking fat cats didn't go crazy saying like, oh, there's only one, by the way, like we're raising the prices to double.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it was to help Mexicans keep it at the same price for, like, kind of like the Costco dollar and Coke $1.50.
Yeah.
And just keep it for the rest of its for the rest of its life, like that.
Yeah.
That was the idea behind it. And now it's like now we're forced into capitalism because fucking Pemex is going crazy with their rates and all that shit. So, but I don't know. I guess, but I digress. The point that I'm sticking with is something that I really admire about the U.S. is, you have 27 and that's it. Like we stick to this and we keep it as as close to the original as possible.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're gonna be like Mexico, you're gonna be changing your mind like every fucking year. Like, oh, by the way, bullying is bad now. We should make it a law. We should make it part of the Constitution.
Well, actually, I mean, that kind of stuff is like, if you really stretch it out and say like, well, the result of bullying is already noted within United States law. Like the things that people do because of bullying is already enforceable.
Right. Yeah.
What they want to do is they want to make it. they want to do pre-crime, basically.
Yeah,
and that's not lawful.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Well, the other argument that I've heard is that, well, back when the Constitution was written the Second Amendment was written in 1791, they had cap and ball or flintlock muskets and stuff like that. They didn't have semi-automatic and automatic weapons.
Didn't they have that fucking machine gun that
they did. Yeah, they had the Gatling gun, but that's beside the point. Like, you can go with it and say, okay, fine. Back in 1791, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have television. They didn't have any of these other forms of media. That means that your right to speak on the internet is not protected by the First Amendment because it didn't exist back then.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go that route, then free speech is only speech, right?
Yeah. Now, freedom of the press, fine. You can say it in a paper, but you can't say it on the internet. You can't say it on your Facebook page. You can't say it on your Twitter account. You can't say it on the phone. I mean, if you really want to get that ridiculous, then fine. But that's just the first problem with that argument. I won't even get into why the rest of it is ridiculous. But I mean, if you really want to stick to what the Second Amendment was meant for, then people should be allowed to own fully automatic weapons. But the only issue that I would have with that is that, yes, it's a fully automatic weapon, and that they're a little bit more dangerous than semi-automatic and single-shot rifles and pistols. I get that, but it's not as dangerous when everybody can have one.
No.
Well, and I've had issues with people saying that the cop or the 4 cops that decided not to go into the school, that they're not cowards, because would you run in there if the situation was happening with you and you had a gun? Would you risk your life? It's like, well, yeah, he's a cop. That's his job. If he didn't want to do it, why is he a cop?
Yeah, well, and like I said too, not that I'm defending, but I will just kind of like put in my 2 cents. Like I said, we talk about the whole fight or flight response.
Yes.
And,
But 4 of them?
But, I guess, you also have that bystander effect, remember?
Yeah.
So you have 4, each and every single one of them was waiting for somebody to say, all right, guy, let's go in and take charge. And nobody took charge because they were all in the flight response.
Isn't this why we have training for police officers and sheriff's deputies?
Yes. Like I said, I'm not defending them. I'm just adding my 2 cents. It is possible, right? And the other thing is, if policemen are not armed with very good weapons, unless you're on a SWAT team.
Yeah.
Would you agree? I mean, you might. I don't know if you'd still have 6-shooters, but
yes, but you still have shotgun. You still have the Beretta 9mm.
Yeah, the standard is the Beretta, but it's just like I remember that shooting that went on in California. I remember when the 2 guys were wearing full body armor.
Yeah,
fucking guns didn't do shit.
Well, that's when you call in SWAT and you say, "Okay, guys, come and take them out."
But like I said, yes, I agree. That's their job. They should be trained for it, and they probably didn't get the proper training. But to their defense, you really don't. There's no training scenario that can simulate that,
unless you're actually having live fire.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but and like I said, not that I'm defending them. I just throwing.
And my argument would be, fine, but 17 people died because of the incompetence.
Yeah, yeah.
it. There's really not a whole lot you can do to defend it. I understand what you're saying, but it's like female police officers and infantrymen. It's like, if you want to do it, you have to be able to do the job. You have to.
The other thing, Lonnie, is that it's shit. I just lost my train of thought here. I was gonna say something really, really bright too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Or something really, really stupid. No, I totally forgot, dude. What I was gonna say.
Well, I have to ask you, have you seen any Rhett and Link episodes lately?
No, it's been a while. I think the last one I saw was the one where they ate that Reaper, Carolina Reaper.
Dude, that was a while ago. Well, the thing is that I've watched a few of their recent episodes, and I have to say that I'm kind of disappointed because the same thing happened to the slow-mo guys. You remember the slow-mo guys, right? Like they own those really expensive slow motion cameras, and they just do like random things with them.
They do like the pin poking the balloon with water and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just really cool stuff. Like, oh, that's interesting, But what happened to the slow mo guys is they got bought out, right? Fine, you sold out, right? No big deal. If you want to sell out and make money, sell out and make money. Who gives a shit? The only thing is that they changed their content completely. So now they have to do advertisers on the front of all their products and stuff like that they're doing, right? Fine. Okay, I can deal with advertisers. The only thing is now they're not coming up with their own stuff. And it's not in their backyard anymore.
What do you mean?
They got them a location like out in Southern California that's out in the middle of the desert so they can do all their stuff, right? So now it's like huge scale stuff. So they're doing all this slow motion stuff on a huge scale. Like they did this huge pool of jello and one of the guys jumping into it, and then they did the slow motion. Well, instead of having like what they usually had was like, maybe like a kid's pool full of jello. So now they got this big ass pool full of it, or big ass, just huge thing of it. And they have like 15 minutes of them talking about it and like 30 seconds of seeing the actual event.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing is happening to Rhett and Link. And they're getting a bunch of celebrities on now. And they're questioning them more than they're doing the actions.
So they're doing like an interview?
Yeah. See, like, before when they'd have like a guest, like either like Link's dad or some like really random celebrity, right? They used to have it every now and then. And that celebrity would do whatever with them. It's not that way anymore. It's a lot more corporate.
I guess I would have to see an episode.
Yeah, just go watch the episodes, and it's really disappointing because I'm hoping that they don't continue down this road. Because I loved watching their stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, the same thing can be said about us, right? Like if all of a sudden we have sponsors and whatnot, we gotta fucking play the Game of Thrones, Lonnie.
Yes, but we do need to talk about that because if something were to come up, if we were to get some advertisers and some sponsors and stuff like that, what do you say?
Do you want to be rich? Do you want to be right?
I want to
be rich.
I want to be moderately wealthy and still keep my content.
Can I meet you somewhere in between, guys, please?
Instead of $200,000 a month, can we get $100,000 a month?
Bud, I still get to say fuck.
Yeah, we don't give up the cussing. For any sponsors out there, we're not giving that up.
No, I can't give that up. This is like the way that I vent. Like I rarely curse during during my week. my regular work week.
And then you come to me.
And then I come to you and I'm just like, fuck, shit, ass.
Have the reptilian brain come up.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps the audience engaged too, right? For every fuck or boobs or curse word that you say, you reset the clock and you get them for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boobies. And we're back.
Oh man, I'll have to see him. But you know that's happened to a lot of shows that's been around for a while as well.
Yeah.
You know,
It's disappointing.
I can tell you that Honest Trailers or Screen Junkies, I'm finding myself watching less and less.
Yeah.
Especially when I've been writing to them like almost every fucking episode that was there to say the quote from no, not Bedazzle. Is it Bedazzle? The one with the...
You got Elizabeth Hurley on the brain?
No. What's the one with Brendan Fraser where he meets the devil?
Bedazzled?
Is it Bedazzle?
Is it Bedazzled? Shit.
I don't know. But he's like a Colombian. She turns him into a Colombian drug lord, and he's like,
yeah.
No lo puedo creerlo, estoy hablando español.
I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. Yeah.
So I've been saying like, say that, right? Like every fucking time, say that, and they're not doing it. They've never said it, fuckers. And but anyways, but I've been watching the latest Honest Trailers, and I'm just like,
they're okay.
I'm just like,
they're not as brutal as they used to be.
I guess they're like,
they're more like soft. They're like trying to protect the film at the same time, kind of jabbing at them.
Yeah, maybe because they, you know, they kind of been like under the edge with the whole sexual harassment stuff and all that shit, and
oh god,
you know, with the
that's
creator.
Such a cancer.
And it's just like, dude, you know what? If we ever get a crew, it's gonna be an all-male crew.
Yeah.
And you have to be openly gay.
Oh, which is something I told Christelle about. Like, say I ever had to have an assistant, right? Somebody that follows me around and makes sure that I go to my appointments and stuff like that and get to meetings on time, tells me who called, all that shit. I'm not getting a woman. Not because they're incompetent in that job. I'm not saying that. Just because there are so many different ways for me to get in trouble in that situation. Just because someone says something.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's also I don't want a woman because I want the other person to think the way that I'm thinking about something. Like, say, like, I need this meeting with this guy, and I need you to get it done. I don't want a woman calling their agent and saying, you know, he really feels strongly about it. You know, that it would be a good thing, a good opportunity for the two of you. No, I want a dude that calls and says, listen, this would be fucking awesome if you could come on the show.
I would just, you know, maybe we should just hire internal, i.e. family members.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Or it could end up like a Real Rob. You know, did you watch that show?
No.
About Rob Schneider. It's his show on Netflix. Dude, it's a really good show.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, watch it, because he actually has his comedian friend on the show, and his comedian friend plays his best friend and assistant, his personal assistant. Okay. But it's hilarious because he's totally incompetent. And then Adam Sandler does a couple cameos on the show, but Adam Sandler is portrayed as like this high-end movie star. Even though it's all real life type scenarios, right? Except for the fact that, you know, it's kind of like, what's the word? Like, it's changed for comedy. So like,
okay, I got you. Yeah.
None of these things are really happening. It's just, so Adam Sandler is like this big movie star that acts like a big movie star, right? He's like, why don't you come out to Cabo and we'll have, you know, martinis and stuff like that. And Rob Schneider, being like a lower level actor, he's kind of like, you know, I can't just leave, you know, like I have to go to work, you know. You know, and then they have what's his name, the guy who played Joe Dirt, what's his name?
David Spade. David
Spade's in the show a couple of times, and a couple other people, but it's pretty hilarious.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And I'm pretty sure that's his actual wife. Mexican girl.
Okay.
It's his second wife. But she's hilarious in that show. She curses at him in Spanish. It's fucking great.
So yeah. So not giving away the like cursing stays and
No, that stays.
that stays. That's non-negotiable.
The sexist and
And
racist and
maybe or maybe you know what, Lonnie? Maybe this is what's gonna happen. We're just gonna do everything,
yeah.
and we can just harass each other. Lonnie touched me in inappropriate ways, and then I touched him back.
And do I get to be the HR guy?
Yeah, and, then,
And you're telling me what I did to you?
yeah.
I'm gonna go tell HR.
Speaking of HR,
Oh God, what'd you get in trouble for now?
no, I'm just kidding. No, I kind of wanted to talk to you about our future guests
Mm-hmm.
because we are planning on having a couple of guests in the near future,
Yep.
and I kind of want to bring Aaron back because we talked a lot about school stuff, but we didn't really get into talking about her.
Yeah.
And she is a really, really funny and interesting person. Aside from like the school stuff and all that shit, but
Which is great.
and we had, I guess Doug has been bugging you, right? Still,
Yeah. The dude's got a fucking manifesto he wants to share with the world, so we got to get him back on before he implodes.
so hopefully we can do that. But I kind of wanted our lazy audience. Just kidding. I love you guys. Send in an email, send a suggestion.
Just one.
You probably know somebody that's really super fucking cool that has just like the most amazing life out there that, let's just send them to us. We'll talk to them.
Yeah, we'll talk to anybody, really.
Because, like I said, we're not. I don't know about you, Lonnie, but I kind of like our format where we don't. I mean, we don't necessarily have. We have like the average Joe, average America.
Yeah.
But it's people that do cool shit.
Yeah.
So and I think that's the thing that we're missing in this place, like or in this world, like
we're like the island of misfit toys.
Yeah, we're media, TV, they just give us like an idea of what people should be or people are like.
Or you have the utopic or the hellish, it's one or the
and
other.
it's just like, no, like real America isn't like that. Like, you got normal people with normal problems. I mean, when was the last time you saw Brad Pitt talking about like his problems at home? Like, I would like to sit with Brad Pitt and ask him about, dude, how fucking close have you been to choking your kids because they're misbehaving?
And have him honestly tell you.
Yeah, and instead,
you're like, holy shit, dude, let me tell you about Thursday.
Yeah, but instead you get this, they have to be on their best behavior. They can't say anything that's, non-PC, because then you won't get hired for future movie roles and stuff. But but with us, we don't give a shit.
No.
Yeah, and like I said, you can always say, "Well, I was in a podcast. I was playing a character. I didn't mean to say those things about Stacy from work."
And that's the whole thing. It's like, the best part about this podcast is we don't do live.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that was a benefit. Honestly, when we first started, I thought that was one of our downfalls, is that we weren't live, right? But now that we've been doing it for a while, I've also noticed how many other podcasts out there are just recorded, like pre-recorded stuff, and those are usually the ones that do better. But the great thing about that is if you're a guest and you're on our podcast, and let's just say you slip up, the greatest thing about our podcast is we can get rid of that. We can make it disappear.
Yeah, all of a sudden
it never happened.
All of a sudden you hear Lonnie's music, and it's just like, sorry guys, technical difficulties.
I.e., our guest decided to go on a rant about black people. Which we'd probably leave in, but let's be honest. But no, it'd be nice to get some some good guests.
Yeah.
And we're
So
not
I'm
talking
gonna-
about celebrities. We're talking about like, just normal people that have just interesting lives or interesting jobs.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm just gonna throw it out there. The ball is on your guys' court. Give us someone that we should interview or talk to.
Because if you
Yeah.
don't, I'm just going to keep bringing in Doug. I'll keep doing it. Because that guy could go forever, I'm telling you.
How are we doing?
Oh, let's see. Gosh, we have talked about it quite a bit, haven't we? We're at an hour and 45.
We haven't even taken a piss break.
Well, would you like to take one? And then we'll do our last 15? I kind of need to pee. All right.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Well, I feel better. How about you, Sumi?
I feel great.
But yeah, what were we talking? Oh, yeah, guests. Well, I'm actually trying to get Curtis on, just because of the stories like that we both have of basically growing up together. It's not necessarily growing up together. We had basically all of our teenage years together, inseparable, I guess you could say. Some nasty shit happened. Not sexual, I promise, but
Yeah, no, worry there for a second. I was like, "There's something.
Well,
should we cut this?"
Let's just say, like, okay, back in our day, like when you and I were teenagers, you weren't best friends with somebody unless there was a little bit of homosexuality in your best friend, like relationship, right? There was like the like you joke around and stuff, right?
Well, I've always said, Lonnie, that you have to go homo for, couple times a day,
just to stay straight.
Yeah, just to stay straight, because otherwise, you're gonna repress all that shit, and
one day you'll take dick.
20 days later, you're married to your girlfriend named Fred.
Well,
so that's why I go homo like 7 times a day. just so
in fact, I've been going for 7 years.
There's nothing,
Well,
there's nothing in there.
It's actually been really good the past couple of weeks because I've been talking to Curtis a lot, and I've told him, like, I feel so bad because I basically dropped Curtis completely.
Well, that's what I told Erin when I sent her a message. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I've been a shitty friend.
Yeah, and I was. I'm still a shitty friend, but I told Curtis, there was so much stuff that happened after I got into the Air Force, right? Like, there was such huge changes that happened after I, left home and did all that stuff, and all the experiences that I've had,
Can I just make a pause?
Yeah.
I just noticed your T-shirt, and you have the Bubba Gump Shrimp Corporation.
Yes, I do.
T-shirt.
Yes, I do. It's fucking delicious food, man.
I kind of wish that people can see this this T-shirt. It's really funny.
Yeah, I always have a good T-shirt.
It's a Forrest Gump reference, people.
Yeah.
But anyways,
get with the program. But no, it's been really good because I've been able to get in touch with him. I've been talking to him a lot more, and I don't know. It's kind of nice. It's always nice to go back and find that friend that you lost, and still have some type of connection. Because with Curtis, it was always that like we did everything together, right? Like I was always over at Curtis's house, or he was over at my house. And I really want to get him on the podcast just because there's so much shit that we did, like bad things or, really funny stories, like going on vacation with his family to Idaho and stuff. And, there's a lot of good stuff that we could talk about. So that would be fun to do. I also kind of want to try to convince him to be like our graphic designer. Yeah. Just because if you've seen any of Curtis's stuff, seriously, even growing up with him, Curtis has always been an extremely talented artist, right? You remember all the Dragon Ball Z stuff that people always drew?
Yeah.
Like there was everybody tried to draw Dragon Ball Z, but there was very few people that did it well. And you're like, is that from the show? Did you buy that from somewhere? Like, no, I drew it. I'm like, holy shit, dude. Well, Curtis was one of those guys, but he could just do it. And now he does like friggin' murals for companies and stuff, and just really impressive stuff. But I'd really like to get him on just to have that kind of stuff. But normal people, like you said, like everyday people.
Are you gonna have us like fight to the death over your
I
friendship?
might. Are you jealous right now?
I'm a little jealous, yeah.
Zumi, you're like my how do I say this without hurting your feelings?
See, this is exactly this fucking shit that I was talking about.
I'm kidding. No,
fight to the death.
I mean, I remember even having the conversation with you before my wedding that Curtis was going to be my best man, and how awkward that was.
I was not butthurt about it though.
But that was the whole thing. It's like real friends, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can have more than one really good friend.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just a shitty friend to both of you, so so I got all the benefits and I didn't have to pay anything for it.
Hey, as long as the treatment is equal, then I'm fine with it.
That's basically it. Yeah.
I mean, one thing would be if all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, like you know what I'm saying. I'm
gonna go hang out with him, because he has cookies, and you're just you. So
yeah.
Now, but I have enjoyed my time in the last couple of weeks being able to get back in touch with him and learn about his family and his wife. I found out he's a cradle robber. He's 34 years old. He's a year older than me, and his wife is like 24 or 26 or something like that.
That's not bad.
It's not terrible now.
Half your
when
age.
He starts getting gray ball hair.
No, but it's
going to be
half your
different.
age plus 7.
Yeah.
Right? That's the rule. So he's 34, so half his age is, I can't do math, 19?
I don't know. I don't know. No, but no, he's got 2 gorgeous little girls, and he still lives out in the same area. Not the exact same area, but
oh shit! Hold on. No, now I gotta do this math. Hold on. Calculator.
The
so
proper
he's 34,
age gap.
So half his age is 17 plus 7, so 24. 24 is his limit. Anything under 24, then yeah, you're a fucking pedophile.
Does that work when you're 20 years old?
Holy shit, dude. Okay, so I'm 32. So 16 plus 7. So 23. So if I was still single, I can date a 23-year-old, and that's okay. Like the gap is.
But really think about it. Do you really want to be dating girls nowadays that are like 20 and 21?
Is she hot?
Does it matter?
It matters.
Do you have to hear her speak?
Well, that's the thing. I don't have to hear her speak. I just gotta bend her over.
So it doesn't work nowadays. Now you get in trouble for it, and you're labeled, and you're on MSNBC 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
For like the next 3 weeks.
This is the beauty about living in Mexico, though, and this is why what I've told my wife. Like, if you ever fucking leave me, like, I'm not gonna find somebody else. Like, if you want to give me the divorce, that's fine. I don't fucking give a shit. I'm just gonna go to TJ and just get hookers.
Well, it's like, what is that, like $5 now?
No, it's a little bit more, but it's like
$6.
But yeah, there's no fucking point. Like, why do you think I can connect with somebody that's 18 or 20? Like, well, even 23. Like that's
no.
like that's the minimum gap. No.
And most of these girls nowadays are all extremely liberal. It's like, if you're trying to do anything more than a one-night stand with some of these girls out there, you're just entering a world of pain.
A world of pain.
Well, here, I need you to explain something for our listeners. And we've talked about this before, but I want to make sure that people know this about Tijuana. Tijuana, back in like the 50s and the 60s, how nice was Tijuana?
Define nice, though.
Okay. For tourist attraction, How awesome was Tijuana back in the 50s and 60s?
I mean, it was alright.
I mean, would you say that it was better than LA?
Yeah. Why?
Well, because I've talked to people about our podcast, and I've talked about, like, just randomly, like, through the conversation about going to Tijuana and stuff, and how much it's changed since when I was a kid. And even then, it really wasn't that bad if you knew what you were doing.
Right.
If you knew how to not get screwed as a white person, you're fine. You just go down to Tijuana, have some fun, right? But the perception about Tijuana still is that it's this massive shithole, and you shouldn't go, and you'll just get robbed blind. Basically, they're saying you're going to the Czech Republic.
Oh,
It's like, come on, man.
Like I said, it's there's sources. I mean, to their defense, their sources is stereotypes, movies, and people that had a better experience.
Yeah. It's like, shit, we used to go to Tijuana, like, once a month when I was a kid, go get, like, cheap vanilla, or, go and grab, like, some type of food that my mom liked or something like that. And, just to go have a little fun. And my sister and I, we never had a problem with it. And we always just thought it was just like a thing that families did. Like, you just go. You go to Tijuana, you go buy some cheap shit and have a little fun. It's like you buy some knockoff Ray-Bans, and
well, nowadays it's getting to be a little bit harder to find like the knockoff. Now you actually have fucking like Nike stores and shit.
Yeah.
at US prices.
Well, now it's not like it's all just one big bazaar.
Correct.
It's like there's actual department stores and stuff.
Yeah, those places are actually going away. Now there's like very few places like that.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate because I always saw them as like a cultural thing, and now it's like all of a sudden you see this shopping mall, and I'm like, wasn't there supposed to be like cheap clothes here? And they're like, no, dude. Like,
yeah,
it's
like
kind of like the
Levi's pants.
Yeah, kind of like Lacoste. Remember, like Lacoste used to be like you get 3 of their shirts for $5, and now it's like 3 of their shirts are like $150.
What was that store that we used to go to all the time here in the mall in Spokane and get like really cheap T-shirts during their sales?
Oh, Anchor Blue.
Anchor Blue. Oh, I love you, Zumi. I used to get a fuckload of T-shirts from Anchor Blue.
Which, by the way, one of the things that I loved about Anchor Blue, and I don't know if they're still around, but it was their
staff.
It was their the T-shirts that had like funny quotes and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't sell those anymore. The last Anchor Blue
now it's
I
all
went
designer.
Yeah, it was all designer stuff. And I'm like, where the fuck is your Spooning Leads to Forking T-shirts or your, your.
That's where I got my Top Gun T-shirt.
Yeah,
that shit was awesome.
Yeah, like what are those graphic tees that are like the funny graphic tees, and they're like, all of them just say Anchor Blue, and I'm like,
well, now they have all the graphic tees over at Walmart, but they're like the shitty versions.
Yeah, like I haven't like the best one, and dude, I don't know what happened to this T-shirt. I think I lost it somewhere.
I like boobies.
It was that one I gave to you, right?
Well, I don't think you purposefully gave it to me.
Well, I was just like, you were borrowing it.
Yeah. For this thing. It's an interview, so.
But, no, it had the state of California. Do you remember this one?
Maybe.
It said California, long and hangs to the left.
Yes, I remember this.
Dude, yeah. I love that T-shirt. That was like my favorite T-shirt, and it was just like, it's gone.
Yeah. Well, they had some good stuff too. Like they had like the cheap colognes and stuff that you could buy for like $10 to hold you over until you had enough money to go and buy like a real cologne.
Their jeans were really, really good too.
Yeah, their jeans were comfortable too.
But like I said, I don't have an Anchor Blue store nearby anymore. So
I always thought it was like some play off of like Old Navy, but for like more, more poor people. Because I don't know what people think about Old Navy, but it's not cheap. Even during
No.
their sales, they're not cheap.
No, they're not cheap. Not cheap at all.
And if I really wanted like super comfortable t-shirts or jeans or whatever, I'd just go over to Express and I'd drop some money and like get some of their, high thread count t-shirts or whatever that they had. But that didn't happen very often because I'm a bum. And I was in the Air Force, so there was really no reason for me to look good. But good times.
Yeah.
Spokaneistan. Do you miss it?
I miss certain things about it, but I don't. Like I said, I definitely don't miss the snow.
Yeah.
I do miss the fact that we had 4 seasons, like defined 4 seasons, and I don't know. I mean, like there's a lot of outdoorsy stuff to do.
Yeah, and you can just drive to Seattle if you want to go to the city.
Yeah. Like I said, there's like where I live. I lived in the outskirts of Spokane, so it was like woods and stuff. It was nice. It was peaceful. So I mean that I kind of do miss. Like there was definitely no fucking gunshots and cops going on.
Isn't that weird?
It is.
That was a big
weird.
change for me going from Southern California to Spokane. It was also a big change for Christelle to move from Spokane down to Southern California.
Yeah, it's like it's more noise, I guess.
Yeah, it gets interesting up here, but it's certainly not as bad.
But I will say this though: in Spokane, I felt more looks.
Yeah, especially up here on the South Hill, dude.
Yeah. Like you don't belong here, boy.
It's a little bit more diverse now, but yeah, but there's a lot of people that moved away from Seattle because Seattle, they should basically make Seattle like its own liberal state because the rest of Washington state is almost completely Republican, right?
Yeah.
It's just that the large city in Washington controls everything. So, when the voting happens, of course, we're a liberal state. We're a blue state, even though, most of the land area is all Republican, but a lot of people moved out of Seattle because they do tax hikes and stuff and, liberal policies. And it pushes companies out and they move over here, make more money, that type of thing.
Mm.
So, but they've done a ton of renovations and stuff like that to the Riverwalk area. Like they have like this skating rink, but it's like it goes up and you can like skate around in like this big loop. It's not connected, like it's just one big pathway like that you can skate.
Huh.
And they already had somebody fall off of it. They had to fix the netting. But I mean, it's Spokane. That's what they do.
Oh, that's funny.
But they still got the Riverwalk Mall, like, and they got that badass AMC theaters. Like where you go up like the 10 flights of escalators.
Yeah.
I still love that stuff, like scaring Christelle. Like when you go up on the escalator and you can look to the left and there's like 20 stories below you. You're like, oh my god. So I'll look up, make her nervous.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? I'm looking up. I'm just looking up.
Does your butt clench when you do that shit?
A little bit. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to move you up here. When I get rich, I'm just gonna move Zumi and his family up here.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a snowplow. You'll
Or
be
I can
right.
just, or you can just get me like the, you can just fly me over every other week.
Yeah, I could do that.
I mean, if you're gonna have money, might as well.
I'll just send my G5 to you.
The
It'd be
G5
like-
airplane.
I'll ask Zumi, you want to move up here? Fuck no. I don't get to ride in the plane then. Yeah. So how we
That'll
doing?
be-
Let's see.
That'll be the day. I think we're good on time.
Yeah, just about.
Give you like just perfect 2 hours. I kind of wanted to talk about some stuff, but it takes it will take me quite quite a bit to tell this story.
Okay.
I titled it "When I Went from the Smartest to the Dumbest."
Yeah. That kind of shit happens sometimes to me.
Yeah, but it's an interesting story because it involves me joining the Air Force.
Okay, so this story doesn't end in murder.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
It
that's
doesn't end in
unfortunate.
murder, no. It ends on a funny note. It ends on me actually starting a podcast with one of my best friends. So that on my book, it's a really good story.
Yeah. Well, life and shit.
Yeah.
Life is a silly thing.
It is. It really is.
I still don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Dude, like the other day, I'm looking at my youngest, right? He's about to turn 2, and I'm looking at him like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, dude, and I'm supposed to take
Yep.
care of you.
I do that 3 times a day.
Just like, fuck, dude.
You're responsible for another human being, and not just one. You're responsible for 4. 4, Zumi. Your wife and your children. Think about that.
Yeah, dude.
If you do something stupid, not to make you stay up at night tonight, but let's just say you fuck up.
You fuck up for 5.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's scary, isn't it?
It's fucking crazy, man. But
And women say that they hold all the responsibility now. Dude, fuck all that. I'm like Atlas holding the world on my back. This silent Atlas that never speaks up.
Well, if you do, like, you're gonna fucking like, either fart or something dumb will come out of your mouth, and you'll be like in a world of shit.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing about being a man. You have to take what's given to you, right?
Yeah, you have to do it.
And
Just gotta do it.
99% of the time, you got to keep your mouth shut. Which
Unfortunately, yes.
reminds me of that quote from Breaking Bad from Gus Fring, when Walter's telling him that he doesn't want to go back to cooking meth. He lost his family, and he just wants to get his family back. And he says, Walter, what does a man do? A man provides.
Oh yeah.
Whether he provides whether or not he's loved, respected, or even appreciated. He bears up and provides. Like, damn, dude. I'm not saying it has to be that brutal, but
Every time that I need you to do something, I'm just gonna say that.
A man provides.
Yeah. And be like, Lonnie, let's go hit the strip joint. You're going like, dude, come on. A man provides. Just kidding.
God damn it. Then I have to tell my wife, I have to go.
I have to go. I have to provide for Sumi. Like, what exactly are you providing? My friendship. I gotta be the wingman.
I have to do this.
Somebody has to keep him from doing something stupid.
Believe me, I'm just as upset about this as you are.
Like, I think we can end it on this. But have you seen those guys? There's a bunch of videos that they prank each other. So they're like doing like a selfie recording, and like, so I'll be like, "Hey Lonnie," and like do the dolphin thing, and you have to like jump as a dolphin somewhere.
I haven't seen this shit.
Dude, there's a couple, right? So there's another like the most, I think the one that started was the Macarena one.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm selfie recording and I have you in the background and I get your attention, I'm like, "Hey Lonnie," and you're like, "What?" I can go like, "Do the Macarena," and you're like, "Motherfucker, you had to stop what you're doing and do the Macarena." So, but they had this one. The one that I saw was they had to do like the dolphin cry.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to like jump and like wiggle themselves like a dolphin and just like jump against like bushes and shit. And some of them are just like, "Hey, do the dolphin cry." And they're just like, "Motherfucker, really? You gotta do it. You gotta do it." So they gotta like jump on a table or something and go like, "Oh."
Yeah. Oh, it's like the sacred rules of truth or dare.
Something like that.
Back when I was a kid, that shit was sacred. Now, it's, whatever. We don't have that kind of stuff anymore. You can break rules, apparently. Everybody gets a trophy.
Hey, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Do the Macarena.
Shit. Oh, fuck you.
He's actually doing it.
It's sad that I know it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's pretty white of you that you know it.
It's mighty white of you. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and end it there, and we will say Happy Easter, Happy Resurrection Day. I don't know what the secular version of this is. Happy Bunny Day. I don't.
But we can go into the whole bunny thing, and it will not be.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but whatever. I mean, if that's what you're into, but yes, Happy Easter.
They're celebrating sex.
They are.
Yeah, fertility, right?
Fertility,
Eggs.
yes.
And
it was the beginning of the mockery of the Easter story. Yeah, but that's okay. We're not going to get into that right now. We're going to let you go and think about all of your Easter dinner and egg hunting and whatever the fuck you do on this day. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Hey, audience, do the Macarena.
Peace. Thanks for listening to the NBTLT podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or shoutengine.com. Write to us on our website at nbtltpodcast.com or send us an email at mail@nbtltpodcast.com. Our bumper music is provided by bensound.com, and you can find us on all social media. And hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel.